Not going to be a tremendously long video today. We're just going to be covering the September 26th patch notes now that I've gotten a feel for them. We'll cover the good, the bad, and everything in between for anyone who either doesn't want to read, or can't find the patch notes. So, the big things they're touting this round is the new sparring arena and private mode for operations. The sparring arena leaves a bit to be desired in regards to spawn points and maybe making it a little bit bigger, because when you have 3 people, you're kind of just tripping over each other the entire time. But, it gives a bit of dynamic chaos and fun to it, so maybe it's not as bad as I'm making it out to be. And as for the private mode, a lot of you people wanted to play alone, or not play with randoms more specifically, and now you can. Congratulations, all you have to do is toggle it on in the matchmaking screen of operations. Now on to everybody's biggest point of concern, gameplay and balancing tweaks. I think these have worked overwhelmingly positively. The marking tool has been updated so it's generally more responsive, not much there, but the Power Fist has had damage for fully charged attacks greatly increased, and the Heavy Plasma got a big buff with a base ammo increase, a blast damage radius increase, and a base damage increase, all while getting an overheat decrease. Med stims will now restore contested health in addition to actual healing, so when you take a big hit, you can just stab one into your shoulder and it'll refill everything. And the Aux Grenade Launcher, this is the only... I'm not sure I would call it a nerf, but I guess you could. Ammo now can be refilled only with ammo boxes and cannot be refilled from the infinite ammo cache. If you're still playing the campaign, there's been some changes for you here as well. For the difficulty, enemy aggressiveness will be tuned down on veteran difficulty, but players' health on veteran difficulty in campaign is slightly reduced to compensate for AI aggressiveness and armor management updates. For your bots, various inhibiting restrictions were lifted, allowing bots to be more helpful and effective. Bots will now help focus firing Zoes when the player attacks them. Heavily eased restrictions on bots finishing enemies instead of leaving them for the player, and bots are now allowed to help with gargoyle objectives. They also fixed a variety of them getting stuck, or fixed a bug where bots can run out of ammo on weapons without a magazine. I forgot to say this, it's like the one major negative of this update. Ultra-wide mode is janked as fuck. Okay, yep, carry on. Operations mode. For my PvE players, you just got a massive quality of life improvement. Tweaked AI director and spawn rules of chaos enemies in operations mode. Max number of Zangars with shields on the arena at the same time reduced from 10 to 4. Max number of cultist snipers on the arena at the same time reduced from 10 to 3. Max number of Zangors on the arena at the same time reduced from 30 to 20. Max number of Rubric Marines with bolt guns on the arena at the same time reduced from 8 to 5. And max number of Rubric Marines with Warp Flamers on the arena at the same time reduced from 4 to 3. That is massive, and it actually might make melee viable on those maps now. Perfect Parry has been updated. It now restores armor for killing Minoris, not only for countering their special attacks. Regarding block and fencing weapons, a bug has been fixed in Perfect Parry window for fencing weapons. Now it has 20 frames for window for perfect parry, and 10 frames of vulnerability at the end of animation, instead of 30 frames for perfect parry for full animation as it was intended originally. Assault class has a base ground pound damage increased by 30%, and armor boost drops from destructible crates are now less common. Cooldown raised from 30 seconds to 60 seconds. That's completely fine. We got a bunch of armor boosts, and we got significantly less enemies, so I don't want to hear any of you complaining about that. All in all, that is sensational. PvP. Improved player spawn system, so it should make spawn killing more difficult. I think that means spawn protection, but I'm not positive. Reworked Vanguard's grapnel launcher in PvP. Instead of full stun, it will now stagger the enemy, and it will slow him down drastically. Honestly, PvP balance is weird, and I try to keep my hands out of it, because it feels like every class in their own way is broken as fuck, and I just kinda let them ride with it. Melee characters were already eating good, but they are about to fucking feast with this next segment when we get into the AI changes. And you don't actually give a shit about the percentiles, no one really does, so I'll just tell you the effects of what's gonna happen. AI has had a reduced ability to stunlock enemies with ranged attacks. Accuracy of ranged enemies will be reduced when attacking from off-screen or when attacking melee-engaged players. Hormagaunts and Zangars will deal a specific amount of damage instead of removing one complete armor segment per attack. Zoes will have less Psychic Scream range, damage, and damage over time mechanics, so there will be longer pauses in between you taking damage ticks, as well as less damage. Termagants have had their damage as a whole brought down. Tyranid warriors with Devourers have had their projectile damage brought down. Rubric Marines with Warp Flamer have had all of their damage brought down and their health dropped by 10%. Rubric Marines with Bolt Guns have had their damage brought down, their health brought down by 10%, and given a reduced frequency in teleports. Zangors with Shields have also had a greatly reduced HP pool. The Carnifex actually got a couple of buffs. The Rage phase has been updated so it becomes faster and more aggressive, and its taunt frequency was reduced so it's going to spend less time standing there screaming at you. The Hive Tyrant has also got a minor buff, with a slightly increased health pool and resistance to explosive and melta weapons increased by 20%. He's going to take less from when you throw those bombs at his feet as soon as he gets into second phase. There's not a ton for customization, but I might as well touch up on it. They fixed several icon colors, and they fixed several default colors being wrong on some chapters. The Vanguard Relic Right Greave now requires 29 victories instead of 36, and they added a color pattern called Greaves Pattern, so it lets you customize your shins and down, well, your knees and down, but pretty much the bottom half of your legs can now be changed colors. Congratulations, no, you cannot change your hands yet. For maps, not a tremendous amount of change occurred. They fixed some issues, but the main thing was that they tweaked Deathstorm density and duration in Ballistic Engine, and they tweaked the Helldrake's fire timings on the bridge in Reliquary. Now, I normally don't do general fixes because it's just standard bug fixes, but they fixed the bug where changing the loadout mid-operation would restore your health. That's the biggest one. Sorry, you can't cheese that mechanic anymore. It is what it is. Get over it. So, there you go. There's also a bunch of little minor changes like alarms going off when waves come in now, but that's just general UI improvements. So, there you go. There's your patch.